Welcome to the Bridge of Two podcast. Well, welcome everyone to the Bridge of Two podcast.
Welcome. A little different today.
No, it's the same. We're in the same building.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. I don't know. Your building looks a little scary, honestly. Wherever you're at.
My building's inspired. It looks like a fever dream come to life.
My building is
on topic.
Very on topic today.
Welcome to the playground. That's the first episode title, I think, of that show. For you who are not seeing Jeremiah's Zoom meeting background, he's got Arcane League of Legends on the background because that is what we're going to be discussing here shortly.
I guess most of this is going to be released mostly on podcast. We might release part of the video on YouTube or something like that. Who knows?
If we get enough signatures, you know.
So it's not going to get released.
Or if we do a Kickstarter that makes enough money, then we'll release the cut.
That would be awesome.
The carrot cut. So, and for those also wondering about my background, it's Sharky the Grotesque.
Oh my gosh.
You can go back to our Instagram to see the drawing by Jeremiah and Steph. But that's my background.
I love the bird on its tail.
Just inspiring. I love that he's sniffing flowers. There's just like fragrance wafting into his nose, his hairy nose.
So much going on.
Are those eyelashes or is that a hairy nostril?
That's just hair.
It's just hair.
The dot below the eye is the nostril. Because that's how sharks work. Right?
That's how Sharky the Grotesque works. He's not a shark. He's E the Grotesque. Anyway.
Whoa.
So what's new with you? How are you doing?
Quite a bit, actually. I feel like I've gotten a lot done since school's been done with.
Yeah.
Just some general drawing here and there. Worked on a tattoo that I think I'm gonna get. Maybe when I get it, we'll post it on Instagram or something.
Nice. What's the timeline here?
I want to do it soon.
Okay.
Far before November.
Oh, for reasons.
Gotta have it. But I'm thinking like probably next couple weeks. Little graduation present to myself. But yeah, I'm thinking like next couple weeks for it. So
nice. Wow. Yeah. Pull the trigger.
That's what I'm saying. I mean, I gotta do it soon because if I think about it, I probably will not do it
before some employer tells you can't. You know.
What are they gonna do? Fire me?
Yeah.
No, there's far too many people that work here with forearm tattoos and stuff. So that's fun. But I've been doing that, working on a little Rowan action with my drawing him a little bit. That'll come out pretty soon. I'm actually making pretty good headway.
Who's Rowan again? Refresh our memories.
Why don't you refresh our memories?
Rowan of House Stoutfire.
Perhaps in a little bit, if you get Mithril, you'll find out. Shameless plug.
Yeah. He's the main character in the serialized story that I'm publishing on Mithril that hopefully will be coming out in the next couple months or so. We'll see. I haven't gotten anything definitive, but they've started to work on some of their marketing material. So that's been interesting to see and give some input on.
Oh, have they really?
Well, just like what I sent you, because that like the
like they're working on like what to post and all that, or what to set up,
right? Because that art will be used in the marketing. That's like one of the reasons the lore. It's a lore card, and they use the lore cards in marketing. I mean, it's a feature in the story too, but but they use it
I
for
think
marketing.
mine's better.
So. Right on. Well,
nice, very tactful.
Just in case anyone's listening from Mithril. Yeah,
sweet. That'll be cool. I'm excited for that to come out, and hopefully people will read it and check it out. Definitely check it out. I've been Josh is on the side, been letting me kind of read through and give some feedback, and I've been loving it. So
it's been fun for sure. I had a little bit of a setback this past week, but just wasn't able to write on it as much. So hopefully this week I'll get back to form with it.
Well, that happens when you're dying.
Right. Yeah. My entire family.
Yes. But other than that, I think last time I had started the first book in the Malazan Book of the Fallen series. I have since finished that book. I think I said this multiple times with multiple different people who've asked. It has been the most confusing thing I've read in a long time, but also the most intriguing thing I've read in a long time. It's hard to follow at first because the author just kind of drops you in, gives you like 17 different characters, and you just kind of figured it out. He doesn't do exposition. It's a lot of, you find things out from the conversations of the characters. And it jumps between characters pretty often too, like their point of views. But it is a really good book. Definitely going to continue reading the series pretty soon. Actually, the first book, it was good. It was nice because the first book didn't like end with like a crazy cliffhanger. If anything, it ended with like, there's definitely more to come. And it sounded like the first book kind of was just almost like kind of like how Wheel of Time did, where the first 3 books were kind of like a prologue to the whole story. That's kind of how this book felt, where it kind of was like a prologue to set up what's going to end up happening, which sounds like just a giant war between a faction that isn't even in this book, but it's like talked about occasionally. Okay. And so it sounds like it's all just kind of setting up. But it was cool. All the characters were really enjoyable, really likable. A few small little things I just found slightly unbelievable, but I was able to, wasn't that big of a deal. But would definitely recommend, at least giving, someone want to read a nice new epic fantasy book, go give it a check. I think the first book's called Gardens of the Moon, I want to say. Sounds right.
I think sounds like something you said.
Can look it up real quick, actually. But it was, I really enjoyed reading it. Yeah, Gardens of the Moon, book 1 of Malazan Book of the Fallen by Steven Erikson. So I finished that. Since finishing that, I have now started doing my reread of Mistborn Era 2, which forgot how much I love the setting of Mistborn Era 2.
Yeah. How far are you?
Like 2 chapters in. I'm on the 3rd chapter. I just forgot how great the way that magic system works really well in that air. That was the like technology. Kind of like what's the word I'm looking for? Steampunky type of
steampunky
world.
Kind of Wild West steampunk.
It just works really well, and it's just really fun to think of like the main character Wax walking around with like revolvers and and I don't know. I like the way he uses his all of his abilities. Like he's a coin shot, so he can push on iron or on metal. And it was cool. Like I like the one of the. This isn't really a spoiler. This is like one of the earlier chapters, but he launches himself in the air, and then he needs to get pushed over a little bit, and so he pulls out a shotgun and he lightens himself with his fear chemical ability. And then shoots the shotgun, and the shotgun pushes him towards. I don't know. It's such an interesting way to mix different things, and I don't know. It's a really cool way of taking the magic system that was in Era 1 of Mistborn, that was all fantasy setting, and then bringing it into a slightly more modern era. It's just super cool. It's super well done. I remember really enjoying it the first read through, and I'm excited to get back into it this read through. Got to get ready for book 4 coming out in November.
Yeah, without spoiling anything from Era 1, the way they incorporate the 2 magic systems together is definitely a lot of fun. Very interesting.
We're doing that. Been playing Destiny 2, which we've all been playing together. I've had a lot of fun playing that. Probably a little bit too much fun. It's been a long time since I've gone that's invested in like an MMO,
Mhm.
but it's been fun, and it's been fun being able to play with you and Caleb.
Yeah, it's been fun for sure.
So that's definitely been good. Other than that, I mean, I started reading the Adventure Zone graphic novel.
Okay.
Oop, oop, oop. There it is. Started reading that today. Again, I bought it a long time ago and haven't had time since school, but I picked it back up. So, let you know how that is.
You also finished another book, the Dresden one, right?
Oh, that's right. I finished the audiobook for Dresden. Oh my, I forgot because it was an audiobook.
Don't sell yourself short.
Yeah, I finished the book one of the Dresden Files. I think this was called Stormfront. Found an audiobook of it on YouTube. So just on a whim, just started listening to it. Super fun book. Definitely an urban fantasy, so it's more modern. I think it takes place in Chicago, and he's just a wizard, and there's like supernatural things going on, and like he helps figure it out. But it's also like really, because wizards aren't known and the supernatural's not known, he's like poor. So it's funny. I really like the character of Dresden. He's just really funny. Like especially at the very end of the book. I won't spoil anything, but at the very end of the book, he's having a situation going on, and he's just cracking jokes and like trying to egg a person on. And I don't know. It's just a really fun character. Very well written. Very enjoyable book. I think there's like 20 in the series.
Yeah,
but I'll probably listen to more.
Yeah.
That'll probably be one I'll listen to just on occasion. Pick one up and.
I mean, I've heard those books are like getting better. Like I've heard they're like the later ones are even. So if the first, if like it's good at the beginning, it's just crazy that it's such a long running series and it's still like really good.
I think I heard it starts having like an overarching story.
Oh, okay.
With like, there's a thing called the White Council of like wizards and stuff like that.
I seem to remember that from somewhere.
Yeah.
Lord of the Rings.
What? Oh. Speaking of, I keep seeing the Lord of the Rings books in bookstores with the new covers, and I'm like so upset by it.
Yeah, that's annoying. It's like Galadriel's hand with a sword for Fellowship of the Ring. It's like
cool. No. She's in it for like 5 seconds.
Yeah,
but that's coming out soon, though, right?
Yeah, that'll be out. Not the next podcast we record, but the one after that we record will be 2 episodes in, I think, to the show.
Oh, that's right. Sweet.
So, or more. I don't know, because they might like drop more than one episode when it releases. But
one last thing. Steph and I am finally just finished volume 1 of season 4 of Stranger Things.
Hey.
So we have the 2 more episodes left in volume 2.
Oh.
So we kind of found out who, Vecna is and all that. So.
Oh my gosh, yes. That was a crazy
I have seriously not been invested in the show as I have in that show in a long time. It is so good.
It's crazy how just the quality the characters are like, in all the characters, like storylines and the overarching like storyline. It's so much fun too. Yeah, it's a good show. Who's your favorite character, do you think? I may have asked you this before, but you've seen a lot more.
I really like Dustin.
Yeah, I think you said that last time too. Yeah, Dustin's awesome.
Yeah, so good stuff.
Cool.
What have you been up to?
Well, I mean, I've been playing Destiny 2 as well and enjoying that. Hadn't played it in like 2 years. I think since 2019.
Yeah.
My character still was hanging out waiting for me to come back though. And been enjoying. I've obviously gotten into it in some ways deeper than I did before. I had played through most of the story. There's a lot more story now, but a lot of it's behind like expansions.
Mm-hmm.
But there were, I've caught up on a lot of the expansion introductions are like have like free story missions and stuff. So I've been doing those but just been having fun, like doing just raids, nightfalls, things like that with you guys. It's fun to jump on there and just like,
it's been fun.
coordinate. I mean, actually, like maybe the most fun I've had too is the one time where that one night that we
We started a dungeon,
we started a dungeon.
the mini
At,
dungeon.
we started it at like 10 o'clock or 10:30 or something like that. Like it was like probably too late, and maybe it was earlier. I don't know, but it was definitely too late to start this dungeon. But we didn't know it was going to be
As long as it was.
as long as it was, right? And it just was like it started off like this cool like puzzle where you got to kill certain enemies. Sometimes you got to kill them when they're standing in the light, kill them when they're in the shadow because they'll drop different colored things. And then if you get all enough of them, you go and put them on these like these place things. That's not the technical term, but close enough. You put them on these things and it like opens up a door and you get to go to the next thing. So that's kind of like the introduction is okay. So this is going to be like combat, but a puzzle combat, combat puzzle.
Come puzzle.
Come puzzle battle. Come puzzle battle.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I like
there you go.
But as we went to the next thing, we fought this thing that we thought was like the final boss, it was like really hard. We kept dying. And then it took us to this desert out. And then in the desert, there's like these things out there that are cloaked, these huge things. So we're like, okay, let's kill these things. So we start killing them. It just kind of was like breadcrumbing us through this like dungeon. Like we just kept following the breadcrumbs because they were like pretty manageable a lot of the time. But then it kept getting later and later and later.
Yes, it just kept going.
Next thing we knew, it was like 1 a.m. and it was like, are we anywhere close to being done? It's crazy.
And then we got to the last boss, and then we started. We took no health from it, and then had to go back to the big thing, whatever. And I looked it up, and I was like, okay, there's no way, guys. We're gonna be here for another hour, and we all have work.
Yeah, just didn't have it in the tank, but I definitely want to go. That's been on my mind. I want to go back and finish that.
We're probably getting close to having better weapons for it too now, because we were completely underleveled for it.
Oh yeah, definitely. And we didn't even know what we were going into.
That was totally going in blind. That was hilarious.
So, I mean, it's a good D&D kind of, for calling it a dungeon. That's a good kind of D&D like scenario, where you just like, here's a dungeon, you just go in, you have no idea what's going to be in there.
Yep.
And just try to survive. But anyway,
it's definitely fun.
Yeah,
we'll go back. We'll go back to it.
Beyond that, been writing, trying to get stuff done for Mithril. Kind of have like a mini climax of a little plot line. I don't know if that's the right way to put it, but there's like a crescendo happening right in this part of the story, this episode. Yeah, so there's a crescendo happening in the story, and so I'm kind of like trying to make everything fit together nicely for this little crescendo, and then from there, I'm excited to see how it opens up into the kind of bigger story for the overarching like story is going to open up after this this art little crescendo. So bringing that to a close, and that's getting closer to having like the minimum number of episodes to actually like get it on the platform too. So that's good. Been reading more Alloy of Law too, more Mistborn, nice. And definitely enjoying that. I'm a little over halfway done.
Nice.
And really excited for it. Ideally, I'd like to be done with the three books in that series before November, so that I'm not spoiled for anything, because I don't want to have to miss any of the panels or anything. I'm sure they'll do. Yeah. They probably won't do a reading from that book because it's going to be released there, but
I think you'll be able to get it done. They're not too long of books, so
right. Yeah, so that's a goal of mine. Not a whole lot else that I can think of off the top of my head. It's been a little quiet, I guess, for the last 2 weeks, but excited to talk about the next 3 episodes of Arcane. So,
well, it's gonna be a little bit different. We don't have a drink this time since we're not together, but we're gonna take a quick break and then we'll be back.
Yes, we're going to talk about episodes 4 through 6 of Arcane. So we'll be back in a minute, and we'll see you guys in a second.
Whoa, whoa, whoa. Did I say you could record?
Doesn't matter. I'm the
All right, I'm
record
ready to go.
captain. Okay. Well, we are back
Welcome
from
back.
our break. And we're going to talk about episode 3 through 6 of Arcane. When we left last episode, they were all still kids. Well, not they were all, but like Vi and Powder were still kids. Obviously, spoilers if you're listening to this and you.
Yeah, I mean,
care.
spoilers for Arcane if you haven't watched it. If you haven't watched it and you're listening to this and you're curious, probably should just go watch it.
Right. Yeah, so I mean basically Powder didn't get them killed. She killed.
Yeah.
You could say she got Vander killed, but she killed the two boys that were part of the group. They literally died because of her. In the wreckage of all that stuff, you know, Vi gets pulled, taken prisoner. Well, you don't really know at that point what happens to her. She just gets pulled into the shadows.
So heartbreaking too, because it's like right after like she sees Powder with Silco and is about to run back to her, and then she gets taken. I mean, and that leads to where we get to, you know, episode 4.
Right. Which I guess episode 4 starts off with Jason and Victor. And you can see the effects of their discovery from however many years ago. Did we ever get an official time jump? Like how much time had passed?
I looked it up. I think it's estimated to be like 6 or 7 years. Hold on, I can figure it out.
Yeah, that would make sense, I think. Because I'd say Jinx / Powder is still...
Yeah, they're saying around 6 years.
A teenager. Okay. Yeah, so she's probably... I would have guessed like 16, 17. But that could work. If she was 9, maybe she was like 9 during the first 3 episodes. Anyway,
9 or 10.
Yeah. So in the span of these 6 or 7 years or whatever, they now have like jump gates.
Yeah, Hex Tech has like really blown up.
Yeah.
They have these like transportation gates.
It's huge.
But this is like opened up Piltover for like they've become a center for commerce and transportation, stuff like that. And
yeah, so everyone in the on top side as the undersiders call them are riding high on the Hex Tech and are really excited about it. You have the constantly looming ominous warnings from, you know, Fluffy Yoda. What's his name again? Heimerdinger, yeah. Which that keeps like he keeps ringing that bell consistently. So it's kind of like you kind of know it's going to go bad in some fashion, but it doesn't really makes it. He just seems unreasonable about it because it's just like all or nothing with him. It's like,
yeah, he is kind of someone that's like just still living in the past,
right?
Which I want to know what happened in this past because you get like a little clip there at one point. And like, I'd just be curious to see what's going on there.
Yeah, that very, very like very little tease of something, but yeah, which will be interesting to see how that will play out, if at all in the future. But yeah, so things are going well there. These 3 episodes with Jace and Victor are very interesting because they were the more everything like their storyline in the first 3 episodes, with the exception of Jace having kind of like cutting it close with like getting completely banished from Piltover. For the most part, their storyline was pretty positive. You know, I mean, Victor and him became friends and colleagues. They made all these discoveries and worked together to make this big breakthrough. And, you know, episode 3 ends with them on a real high note, you know. They're floating in their office or whatever. Yeah. You know, they've managed to stabilize the Hex Tech, right?
And make a breakthrough.
Right. And then this episode 4 starts out really positive as well. They've got this really big development that they've stabilized the crystals whereas they can like it can be more portable and more accessible to people.
Yeah, and like this is where you kind of really find out that their goal for a while has been to provide the hex tech not just with the upper class, but with for everybody. They're making like tools for like miners and stuff like that. Like they want hex tech to be helpful to everybody, not just the higher ups.
Right. Which that's whenever we really like these 3 episodes, like Victor's character really, you get a lot more depth with him, because you kind of saw with Jace the importance of like his reasoning for magic being so important to him to share with the world was how it saved his life. Whereas Victor, we learn through the course of these 3 episodes, is dying.
Yeah.
He's always had this cane he's been walking around with, right? So you're like, okay, something's off. He's not completely well, or he's had some kind of injury or something like that, permanent injury or whatever. But you come to learn that he's got some kind of condition that is basically going to become fatal. And so his big driving factor, obviously, he has altruistic motives, but it hits so close to home for him because he knows that he will die if they don't make some kind of breakthrough. And if he dies, he doesn't know like what the future will be for Hextech, and will it benefit people like it should,
Yeah.
So he's definitely got a very interesting motivation for his actions over these 3 episodes, I think.
I agree. Yeah. And it's interesting too, because in these 3 episodes you have an interesting contrast once again with the upper city and the lower city, because you have Hextech that's booming and it's caused all this great advances in technology and society and everything like that. And then you cross over to the underside, I can't remember what they call it.
Zaun.
And so Silco's now in charge. He took over Vander's place, and Shimmer is just running rampant. This new, I guess, drug really, that has been made, but it's not helping people prosper like Hextech is. Obviously, it's we get that scene in I think the 3rd episode, either the 2nd or 3rd episode, the 3rd episode where they're really far down, and you have all those people who are like ruined by the shimmer and they're addicted to it, and they have these like tumors on their body, stuff like that. So it's just an interesting contrast between the upper city with their hex tech that was being made, and then now with the lower city with the shimmer.
I wonder if you can almost see, is there almost I don't know if metaphor is the right word, but something to be said, because you have the 2 technologies. You had the shimmer and you had the hex tech, and the hex tech is stabilized now. Shimmer was much more volatile in the first 3 episodes, right? You took it, you hulked out, you immediately like buffed out and kind of went animalistic and feral. Whereas now it seems like people can kind of, like you see in certain parts of the underside, people are like inhaling like it in like aerosol form, and people
It's
are
just a regular old drug now.
Right. It's kind of like they've stabilized Shimmer, and to a certain degree, obviously, like you've got those people down there, but so it's almost like what appears to be stable, right, is actually, it's causing tumors. It's causing problems to start to happen. It's sort of similar, kind of like the warnings of Heimerdinger. What appears to be stable and good up on top side with the Hextech, there's something festering. There's something that is not exactly quite without any danger, as it appears. So I almost wonder if there's a little bit of I don't know if it was intentional or not, but almost a little bit of a comparison there, between the 2 as well.
Yes, you got all this going. You got the advances with the hex tech, and then we're learning more about Victor as a person.
Yeah.
And he definitely seems extremely driven in these episodes, and that's when you find out, I think the 5th or 6th episode that he's dying, and that's kind of part of his what's driving him. And then you have Jace on the other hand, who is being pushed into this more political position.
Yeah.
He's wanted is to help people, is to build this technology to put magic in the hands of the people, to be able to help them and provide them ease. And now he's being pushed into these political avenues, initially trying to do what's right. And he's trying to help the town. He's finding out about the smuggling operation going on with the shimmer and all that, tries to put a stop to it. And he's just gets thrown very quickly into these political problems. He gets put on the council.
Yeah.
Don't remember why he's put on the council, actually.
It's the well, it's because Heimerdinger, right? He's worried about the Hextech safety. I think it's whenever he sees I forgot what it is. He sees something and he thinks that there's an issue, and then what's her name? The dark skinned woman that is always kind of nudging him in her direction, Jason her direction. She is like kind of throws out that idea that we do need security with the magic. So what better to have?
Oh yeah, this is after Jinx blows up the people and then steals one of the crystals, the magic crystals.
That's what it is. You're right. And Heimerdinger, I think at that point he was in favor of Jace being on the council, because he saw Jace had suggested that they like shut down everything Hextech until they could be sure everything was safe. And so he saw like a glimmer in Jace of this person from his past that had given up their legacy for the sake of other people,
the safety of others.
Right. So when he saw that, he was like, maybe he would be a good person to be on the council and do that. So that was a kind of a turning point for Jace's character, like you said, being pushed in that political. It was very hard to see that wedge start to happen between him and Victor. Not even where they were really like upset at each other or anything like that. It was just that,
Jace's priorities were having to change, whereas Victor's were still focused on the Hextech.
Exactly, because since Victor stayed in the background, he didn't get pulled into that same thing. But then you have also Jace in being told that you need to provide security. He actually takes it seriously and starts trying to do things, and then quickly learns, it's all political and I can't step on anyone's toes. I have to keep all these little secret deals that people have that let them get around the laws that they're not living under. They're like keeping themselves from living under the laws. And he's got to keep all that in place. Otherwise, it's going to jeopardize his position on the council and maybe Hextech stuff. And so it's, that's a very, that was a frustrating scene whenever he's doing all the handshaking and making all the deals and everything.
And that's where he's at for a while, is doing the political deals and all that, until Victor has an episode in front of him and then gets taken to the hospital. And that's when Jace finds out that Victor's dying. And now he is really pushing for wanting to get this figured out to help Victor. Victor, on one of his episodes, coughed up blood onto their Hextech device they're working with, and it actually like fused with his blood or something like that, and was giving life to organic matter. Yeah. Only for it to die later on. So they still need to refine it.
Right. That's when Heimerdinger freaked out.
Yeah. Now Jace is like so fully on board with like, we got to get this figured out. We got to do all this. But Heimerdinger freaks out, and Heimerdinger brings it up to the council, if I remember correctly.
Right. He does.
And that's where you see Jace really, use his newfound political powers to, sadly get rid of Heimerdinger. Blames all the stuff going on down at the Undercity on Heimerdinger and his letting it happen.
It's that loyalty, in the end, it's not even, it's an interesting, they show him he's making these deals, the political deals, and he's kind of blurring the lines a little bit between his like black and white way of trying to do things but at the same time, that's not really like that. I don't really even see that as in factoring into his decision there. It's all about coming back to this, like, Victor, we were partners, he's dying, realizing how important it is that we figure this out, and just pushing himself, without really being concerned at that point about what's right, what's wrong. It's just about helping his friend, which sort of parallels, actually starts to parallel a little bit, I would say, like a little bit of what's happening with Jinx in the show, because Jinx is a character that I know that Victor, I wouldn't say, as far as I can see, his actions have not been as destructive or caused as much destruction as Jinx has had up until this point. Who knows what will happen in the future?
Yeah.
But they are causing destruction in that they're causing, Jace to get pulled this way and that. And, later on in the show, it causes, some other destruction that we'll get into whenever we get to that episode. But then, Jinx is a character that no matter who she's with, someone is trying to save her, while could care less about them trying to save her, while she just burns everything to the ground, pretty much.
Yeah, Jinx is
she's so in her head.
Yes.
She's
a wonderfully written character, crazy character. So I guess it's a good time too to bring her to the other half of what's going on in the show at this point. Is you have, like I said, Silco's now in charge of the lanes, and we come to find out that he's got basically his I would consider, his right hand man, maybe more like a pet at this point though, is Jinx, and we come to find out that Jinx is our old friend Powder, just grown up. After we last saw her run into the arms of Silco, Silco obviously kept her alive and looked after her, and it was almost like a father figure to her, I guess. But because everything that happened, the deaths of her friends, she believing Vi leaving her and everything like that, she has descended really into madness. She has gone crazy. She is hearing voices. She's, the animators and the voice actor for this character did such a good job of portraying someone who's crazy, this person who's crazy and struck with all these different things. But like you said too, there's just so many different circumstances where she just doesn't care. She's just causing chaos and destruction around her.
Yeah, she's just a hair trigger away at all times. And I think the first time you see her in this after episode 3, the first time you see her is there's some kind of shipment happening. She's supposed to be like doing some kind of security on it, but in the melee, in the fighting, she shoots like her own person. Like she's just like completely blind to, anything but like the reality that is in her head, which because she's like starts to see one of the people, their mask comes off and they look like they're a girl and they have similar colored hair, similar features to Vi, and she immediately just kind of like loses it. And she's just haunted. She's haunted by that failure, but she's angry too. By that failure, she's trying to leave that failure behind, but it's just like it won't get off her back. And that's a big I think part of her character arc in these 3 episodes is Silco is trying to get her to leave that part of herself behind. He's trying to impart to her something he learned with Vander, was instead of having this betrayal cause you pain, see how it is killing a weak person and letting you become a stronger person, and just become Jinx and just leave Powder behind. That's Powder's past. That's not, something that's not your failure. That's Powder's failure that made you Jinx or whatever. So he's trying to get her to, which I don't know that I see him. I don't know. And there's more in the later episodes that I think you could get more from that. And so we could talk about it more then, but I do think that he sees her almost as a daughter.
Yes.
He's not a good father, obviously.
No, absolutely not. But yeah, I think you're right. I definitely think it's more of he sees her more as a daughter. It's more of a father-daughter type relationship.
it's just very interesting to see her become his problem. Like to see like how she was a problem for Vi and Vander and all them, right? And
Mm-hmm.
and then he takes her in after he has spoiled everything that was happening down on the underside, whatever. Not from his perspective, but anyway, he takes her in, and all of a sudden he has this liability, and it's just crazy how this nobody can leave behind this liability. And I mean, she's a person, obviously,
Yeah.
and it's good to have compassion, right, on people, but even it's just it's an interesting facet of his character, Silco's character, that he, even as this person has these such grand plans, that somehow this person Jinx is like, he can't he can't completely fault her, he can't completely punish her, he can't completely get her under control or get rid of her or whatever, as you would
Yeah.
expect most villains to do, most evil mustache twirling villains to do. He keeps letting her screw things up,
Mm-hmm.
just like happened in the first 3 episodes.
But yeah, all of Jinx's issues and machinations going on lead to one of our, shown in the first couple episodes occasionally, but we get one of our new main characters, Caitlyn.
Yes.
The enforcer, I guess is what they are called.
Yeah.
I think. Who is, her family doesn't want her to be an enforcer, obviously. They're like a more rich up and going family. And so they've kind of like swayed her boss or whatever to keep her in not dangerous positions. I don't know. But she obviously wants to be enforcer. That's, so she's it ended up coming down where she's now doing her own investigation on the stuff happening with, Jinx. She doesn't know that's who it is at this time, but all that stuff going on, and it leads her ultimately down to a prison where we get our reintroduction to our good old friend Vi.
Yeah.
And they meet up now here, and that's when Caitlyn kind of figures out that Vi, she's like, at first thinks like Vi, maybe Vi works for Silco or something like that. And she's like, no, I don't. And long story short, Vi ends up getting released from prison, and they go down to the lanes to figure out what's going on.
Right. What do you think of Caitlyn's character?
I love her. I like her character a lot. I think she's a little naive, but I think that's how she's supposed to be.
Yeah.
I really like the interactions between her and Vi too, for a lot of different times,
Yeah, it's definitely interesting just seeing them both getting their preconceived notions of each other, or of topsiders and Zaunians or whatever they're called. Getting their prejudices kind of challenged, because here she is trying to do the right thing as an enforcer, and as a, not just an enforcer, but coming from wealth and stuff like that. And then here's Vi, who is just a person who's just trying to save her sister, and has had a really rough life. I think, what was it, episode 3, where it appears really naive because we've seen how they live down there, but for her, she has no clue. It's that they're so separate. The top side and the underside are so separate that whenever she hears that you don't have parents, Vi's like, no, they were killed by enforcers, and it seems so stupid for her to even say that, but at the same time, it's like, she just so removed from that, but that's like how different realities they come from. So it's definitely interesting to see how they mix,
So it definitely shows too, because even back in episodes 1 through 3, Vi is very much against the outsiders, and she wants to fight back because she feels like they've been oppressed and everything like that, which to an extent they have. But it really shows that just the regular people on the top side and the regular people on the lanes both probably wouldn't hate each other. Right. They could get along very well, but it's the higher ups on both sides. Obviously, Vander was kind of keeping it more on the up and up with the upside, but like
Yeah.
the upper city, the council and all them. I mean, they're political hacks. They want control and they want power and
yeah. Well, and
I don't know.
They don't really see the powerful people in Piltover don't see the underside unless they're a problem. And then when they're a problem, it's just, we just have to deal with them. You know,
it's an out of sight, out of mind thing.
Yeah. Which is like, goes back to what we were talking about our first episode about this was, you have people who don't take things seriously. They're the people, the Piltover rich and powerful don't take the underside seriously. They don't realize what could happen if they just keep trying to push the thumb down on them. The same as I think Silco, doesn't even appreciate like Jinx. Like, I mean, she goes off the wall in this episode, in these 3 episodes with him. Like, he lied to her about Vi, right after he had just kind of convinced her to give up powder. Right. And then he lies, and then inevitably she comes. Well, he didn't lie. He was lied to. That's true. That's right. He was lied to or convinced that she was gone, never coming back, and she came back. And so whenever that happened, that pushed Jinx back towards Vi, where she actually, in that moment, whenever Jinx has this flare that Vi gave her in episode or at the very beginning of the show, and told her, if anything ever happens, pull this and I'll come find you. Maybe that was episode 3, wasn't it? Like, right, I think it was before, 3. Yeah, right before they went on their mission or something. So Jinx has never pulled that flare, and so she pulls this flare in episode 6, and is wanting to see if her sister, maybe her sister really is going to come back for her. Maybe she didn't actually abandon her, and all these things.
Thinking back on it now, I mean, because you had episode 3 ended on a very somber note.
Yeah.
Episode 6 also ends on a pretty somber note.
Right.
You think at first, oh man, this is good. Kind of the same way episode 3 happened, where you're like, okay, they're going to get out. They're, Vi's kicking butt. They're about to get out. He just created a hole in the wall where they're going to go. And then powder happens. And this one, you have powder holding the flare, and Vi comes running up.
Right.
And there's a minute where, like, it seems like everything's gonna be good. Powders or Jinx is gonna be okay. Vi's like, I'm never gonna leave you again. And then
Caitlyn comes up.
Well, Jinx is already kind of having issues mentally again. Voices in her head. Vi's starting to see something weird's going on, and then Caitlyn comes up, and then so now Jinx sees the enforcer and is like, you brought her here to come get me, and blah blah blah, and and then everything just starts going downhill from there again. Now you get this going back to the somber note, because you have this other faction come in and break things up, but you have this somber note where you're like, they were reunited, but now what do you think? Jinx is probably going to think that Vi has abandoned her again. Right.
I mean, although it does end with, she sees that group has knocked Vi out and picked her up and taken her, and she kind of tries to go after him. She says, and she says, Vi, so there's a little part of her. I think there's definitely still some conflict there. It's not resolved. That's going to happen in the next 3 episodes. But like you said, like this seemed like a hopeful kind of thing, that she's pulling that flare. It's a sign that she's searching for, she's kind of hoping that things aren't all done with her and Vi, but that's kind of the way the show goes, right? It's like when things look good, something bad's about to happen,
Yeah, usually in the show.
When somebody is trying to do the right thing, they're usually gonna, like, something really bad's gonna happen to them,
usually.
But one thing I was thinking about too with this show, especially here at the end, but also with Vi coming back, there's really good combat fight scenes.
Oh yeah, these 3 episodes got really good fight scenes in them.
I mean, I love what they do in this show where they don't rely so much on slow motion that it's like you're watching a whole fight scene in slow motion, but they do slow down like one punch or something like that to give it impact, or to just show you how quick someone was. Like when this faction comes in at the very end of episode 6 and they're flying on these like these hoverboards. One like comes in towards Jinx, and she like leans back to dodge it and like attaches a grenade to it like really quick, but it slows it down just enough to see her just like do that really quick. And just like all the movements she does in that scene, it just makes it feel really cool. Makes it feel like everybody in the fight scene, it just feels really, I don't know, honed, like really good at what they're working with, you know.
Well, what else I love about these fight scenes is every single hit that happens. Like I noticed, you definitely notice it with like early, I think in the 5th episode when Vi fights the enforcer chick with the robot arm. Every hit, punch, kick, throw, whatever, feels like it has weight behind it. Like the animation team did such a good job of animating these fight scenes.
Yeah.
Because I mean, when Vi punches someone or when she gets punched, I mean, it feels like there's weight behind it. There's power behind it, you know, which can be hard to master in animation. It can be hard to master in any like in live action for that matter.
Right.
Stuff. But they really do a good job of like really honed in on that. Like you said, in this last scene, all the characters feel really honed in.
Yeah.
Animation is really good. I love all the colors that they use in the fight scenes. Everything, the whole show in general is just very colorful. It has a good mixture of darks but with also brights. So I don't know. I'm excited to finish up these last 3 episodes.
Yeah, me too. I do just want to say I was waiting to say I just love it's going along with the whole fight scenes and the impact of the fighting and everything. I love whenever the woman with the metal arm is sitting there playing cards or whatever, and just all of a sudden Vi just knee to the face. Like she doesn't come in and say anything. She doesn't call her out. She just goes in Boom. And just starts pounding her. I mean, I just love that because, and you can't like, and a lot of times in fight scenes, right, when you got the good guy and the bad guy, right, the good guy's more honorable and whatnot, so that's not going to happen. But you have someone who's a scrapper, who's from the lanes. They're not there to keep for honor. They're there to beat you up and to beat you, you know. So I just thought that was awesome.
That fight scene between Vi and her is probably one of my favorites in the show. And when I first watched the show, I mean, that fight scene really showed like, oh man, this is what we're getting from action in this. Like, because, you know, you have action in the first couple episodes, but none of them like that. You know, you got that and you're like, okay, wow. Okay. So, but yeah. Oh man, I'm just excited to get back, go back and watch the rest and
watch the everything come crashing down so beautifully.
Or come back up. You never know. We'll find out next episode, next podcast.
We will find out. We will. All right. Well, this has been a Bridge of Two podcast.
Far, far away bridge.